There was a Hollywood epic planned on the lives of the great composers, and they thought they would have some of the biggest names in Hollywood to play those composers. So they invited Bruce Willis, Sylvester Stallone, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And when they were allocating the parts, giving out the roles and the scripts, Bruce Willis said, "I'll be Mozart." And Sylvester Stallone, or even Sylvester Stallone, said, "I'll be Beethoven." And Arnold Schwarzenegger said, "I'll be Bach." Get it? Oh, never mind. Anyway, if I was to ask you, who would you be? Not in a film of the musical composers, but which character from the Bible? I wonder who you'd choose. I sometimes ask that of congregations. The most popular choice is always Peter. And I think it's because we see him in the Bible, warts and all. We see his faults, we see his frailty, we see his humanity, and we can identify with it. No one ever says, "I'd like to be Stephen." I wonder why. And I'm surprised more people don't say, "I'd actually like to be the Apostle John." And the reason I say that is because he was the only one of the disciples to live to an old age and to die a natural death. Now, there's many characters I would like to be in the Bible. One of them would be Barnabas. This is what it says of him in Acts chapter 4. All the believers were one in heart and mind. No one claimed that any of his possessions was his own, but they shared everything they had. With great power, the apostles continued to testify to the resurrection of the Lord Jesus, and much grace was upon them all. There were no needy persons among them, for from time to time, those who owned land or homes sold them. They brought the money from the sales and put it at the apostles' feet, and it was distributed to anyone who had a need. Joseph, a Levite from Cyprus, whom the apostles called Barnabas, which means son of encouragement. He sold a field he owned, and he bought the money and put it at the apostles' feet. Now, if you had that line written about you or spoken about you at the end of your life, your nickname, Barnabas, that you were a son or daughter of encouragement, you were someone who encouraged people, how wonderful would that be? And you see, we may not all be the Apostle Paul, we may not all be Peter, we may not all have all the successes in life, we may be quite shy in our faith, we may be the sort of person who is slow in coming forward. We look round and we see people who are much better than we are. Well, let me tell you something. Every one of us can be a son of encouragement. And at this time, I think that's what the world's crying out for. They don't need another sermon. They need friends. I read once of a lady whose husband was moved across America with his job. It meant she gave up a beautiful home. She couldn't even take her furniture because they had to move into rented accommodation, which was already furnished. She lost her friends. She couldn't stand the area that they moved into. And you know, when you get to that stage, and you may be feeling it a bit now because everything that's going wrong in life, it's not the big things, but a little thing comes along and trips you up. Well, for her, it was that every day when she went out, every morning when she stepped into her porch, it was filled with flies. It drove her absolutely crazy. Before she could even open the door, she had to go through this, get rid of all these flies, drive them out. And it was just that final last straw she couldn't stand. And one day when she was just feeling at her absolute lowest, why am I here? My life means nothing. What's it all about? There was a knock at the door. And when she opened the door, she had to move a few flies. When she opened the door, there was a young girl there, a young woman from up the road, and she was obviously distraught. And the lady said, "Can I help?" And she said, "I hope so. I don't have any friends in this town, and certainly not even in this street where I live. But you're the one friendly person we know." And the woman was quite taken aback. She said, "I'd like, if I could, to borrow a black coat off you. I've seen you go out and you wear a black coat. I haven't got one, and my father's died, and I want one for the funeral." And the lady is absolutely, I suppose we'd say today, gobsmacked. Why have you come to me, she said. And the young woman said, because Father was in a wheelchair for the end part of his life. He had no visitors, no friends came to see him. The one thing that made his day was when you came out, you always waved to him. And he would say to me, that lady's waved to me again. And he couldn't raise his arm because he was paralysed to wave back. But it meant the world to him. See what happened there? When she stepped out into the porch, this last straw, these flies that she waved to get rid of, the man up the road looked and saw a wave. And it brightened his life. Wow. You know, there's a verse in the Bible that says all things work to good for those who love the Lord, who are called according to his purposes. Do you know what that lady did? She became a true Barnabas. She went back in the house, she knelt down, and she asked God to forgive her for being ungrateful for the opportunities he gave, for being ungrateful for the life she had, and the things that she had. Do you know what else she did? She started to knock a few doors up the street. She told the neighbours about that girl up the road whose father had died, who was lonely, who had got no friends. And she arranged, those people went to the funeral and they even put on a wake. The friends bought cakes. The people bought cakes and sandwiches. And the girl and a few relatives who were there were absolutely staggered. That lady made up her mind again. She would never complain about what she didn't have. She would look round and see what she did have. Now I say any one of us can be a son or daughter of encouragement. When those disciples started to share things, did you hear what it said? It said, with great power they testified. And it said, much grace was upon them all. Hey, if in these really, really trying times, the people looked at us, the Church of Jesus Christ, and they said, those people, they've got so much grace about them. Those people, they've got, well, there's the things they do and the things they say are powerful. It's not as hard as you think. Just that little thing to say to one of your neighbours, can I help you? Is there anything I can do for you? Well, I've tried that to a neighbour, and this man just, the smile on his face and the thankfulness, even if he never comes and knocks my door, what I do know is he will think, I'm safe because there are people around who care. You could do that, couldn't you? And something that I guess I always want to finish with is to say, because we have got the greatest friend of all. We've got a friend who's promised never to leave us or forsake us. We've got a friend who said, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. That's Jesus.